tonight because I get to talk about my favorite topic, downsizing your stuff or clutter control. You know, most Americans, myself included, have a problem with overaccumulation of possessions. In other words, we all have too much stuff. And so tonight, I'm going to talk about several big reasons why we have so many things. I'll give you some suggestions for reversing those situations, and hopefully you'll go home ready to act on something that you heard about tonight. Back in 1960, there were almost no storage facilities here in America. Today, there are more than 40,000 storage facilities here in America. It's estimated that 1 out of every 10 homes have so much stuff we can't fit it in our own house. We have to go out and rent extra space at these storage facilities. Now, you know what George Carlin has to say about that. A house is just a pile of stuff with a cover on it. Did you know that 40% of Americans can't fit a car in the garage? Now, I don't have a garage, but if I did, I'd be among the 40%. Now, I read recently, and I can't quote the author exactly, but he says something to the effect of, only in America would you take a car that's worth $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 and just leave it out in the driveway. And then fill your garage with a bunch of useless junk. One author claims that the average 3-bedroom home has over 380,000 items in it. We've got one separate chair here and one over there for those that are coming in, right there and there. Don't worry, the people won't bite. You can meet with your friend afterwards. Okay. Yeah. So 380,000 items. Now, I don't know if the author meant that that he or she was talking about every single sheet of paper or every single paper clip in the house, but even if he or she did, you could reduce that number by 60%, and we'd still end up with over 150,000 items in the average 3-bedroom home that we have to take care of, that we have to try to organize and find things in and clean around and worry about. So why do we have all this stuff? Well, here's one big reason. We might need it someday, right? How many of you say things because you might need it someday? Sure. And it never fails, does it? You throw something away and you need it sometime in the future. It's kind of funny how the human mind works if you think about it. We're getting rid of things all the time, but it's only those things that we get rid of and then we need that registers up here. And it makes us afraid to get rid of anything because we're afraid we're going to need it. So here's one idea that might help you to think about this situation a little differently. If you clean out your garage or your basement or whatever, and you get rid of 100 items, chances are very great that you will need 1 or 2 of those items sometime in the future. But you have to think of it this way. You're not going to need the other 98 or 99 items, and they're gone out of your life. You don't have to worry about them, organize them, or whatever. Now look, here's another way to think about this. How many of you have gone out and bought something that you knew you already owned, but you couldn't find? Yeah, we've all done that, haven't we? Yeah. And it's kind of funny if you think about it. If you think about it, it's like a vicious circle, isn't it? We save things for when we're going to need them, right? So now when it comes time for us to need them, we can't find them because we've saved so much in case we needed them, right? So we may as well just get rid of them all and just buy whatever several years, take it and put it up on the shelf and just leave it there for 7 years. Now, at the end of the 7 years, if you haven't used it, save it for another 7 years. I'm only kidding. Now, here's another big reason why we have so many things. How many of you have grown children that moved out and left their things behind? Yeah. Here's another scenario. You have grown children, they moved out and they took everything with them, but then they moved back again. Yeah. Or here's another scenario. They move out, they take everything with them, but while they're moving from one apartment to the next or one house to the next, they leave their things at your place temporarily. All right? So what do you do? What do you do? One woman that attended my talk, she told us how she had given her family 5 years to come and get their things. Well, I don't know how that turned out because I haven't seen her since. I do these programs all over the place. One woman came up to me and she said, "You know how I got rid of my children's things?" And I said, "No, how did you get rid of your children's things?" She said, "I moved." That's how she did it. Now, I know one woman who finds it very difficult to get rid of anything at all, but particularly things that belong to her children. Oh, so hard for her to get rid of them. Now, lately, she's got 2 sons that moved close enough so they'll visit with their families for holidays. So what she does is she'll put their things into a box, and as they go to leave, she'll hand them the box for them to take home and go through themselves. Now what gets her, now even that's hard for her to do, but what gets her over the hump is the fact that it's her son that has to make that final decision. She no longer had to make that final decision. Now here's another scenario. How many of you, you've got grown children, they moved out, they took everything with them, but you've been saving their kindergarten art project for when they get old enough to appreciate it, right? Yes, yeah. So what do you do with all that, right? My wife and I, we're just as guilty as anyone else. About 3 or 4 years ago, we took our girls' school papers that we found, we put them into manila envelopes, and we gave them to them for Christmas. And I would hope that they saved their report cards. But, you know, this past year, I found some more papers, and I was going to give them to the girls for Christmas. But Christmas came and went, and I completely forgot about it. And so that brings up another subject very quickly here on a side. It's better to get rid of things as soon as you decide to get rid of them. Don't hold on to them, don't save them, don't try and find a home for them, you know, just get rid of them. And I'll be talking later about donating, because I think that's my favorite way to get rid of things. You know, about 3 or 4 years ago, my wife and I, we had cleaned up the basement. You know, sometimes you're forced into downsizing. Some of you probably had that situation. With my wife and I, about 3 or 4 years ago, it was our oil tank started leaking. And it was in that corner of the basement, and the door was in that corner. So we had to get the basement cleaned out, and also we had to change the furnace over to gas. So there was an awful lot that we cleaned up. It took us 3 months of working to get it cleaned out. While we were at it, we got the whole attic emptied out. So we got the attic emptied out, the basement all cleaned out. Well, it's been 3 or 4 years now. The attic is still empty, but the basement is filled up again. Life happens. But anyway, while we were cleaning up, I came across this ceramic figure that my younger daughter had painted, probably back when she was 7 or 8 years old. She was approaching 40 at the time. So I brought it over to her, and her reaction was, "What do I want this thing for?" Right? I've been saying it for 30 years. You know, it didn't take up much room, but I was heating it in the winter and cooling it in the summer. For what? Right? all come across this, where your children don't have the same interest in their things that you have. And I think it's because we are the ones who are emotionally attached to these objects. And I'll give you an example, a onesie. We read them to sleep, hugged and kissed them goodnight and tucked them in with the onesie. They're running around with the onesie when they were little toddlers. And, but they don't have a memory of that because their mind wasn't developed enough. We were adults at the time, and we remember all those experiences associated with those onesies. So now, over a period of 30, 40 years, maybe we've seen the onesies 2 or 3 times. They've probably never seen them, other than maybe in pictures of themselves. So now we try to present them with their onesies. It means absolutely nothing to them. They have no emotional attachment to them and don't want them. So here's an idea for you if you want. You can take pictures of the onesies. Let's say you've got 5 pairs of them. Take pictures, get rid of it. The picture takes up a lot less room. Or you could cut out little squares, 2 by 2 of each onesie, staple them all together on a 3 by 5 pad. Write the significance of them. And someday in the future, when they're going through all your things, they'll see it. And maybe they'll have an interest in it. Who knows? But anyway, now here's another reason why we have so many things, and this is not humorous at all. It really isn't. How many of you have inherited things? Now that's a hard one, isn't it? Because boy, these objects remind us of the person. They remind us of experiences that we had with the person. And we feel like we're dishonoring the person's life by getting rid of some of these things. But quite often what will happen is a woman will end up with her mother's dining room set. Well, she already has her own dining room set, so her mother's dining room set ends up out in the garage for years and years and years. Or maybe her grandmother's china set in a box up in the attic for years and years and years. Or a guy, his father will die, so he ends up with all his father's tools. Now he has 2 of everything, right? He might end up with this beautiful table saw. It was a beautiful piece of equipment back in the 60s or 70s, so he saves it, puts it down in the basement for the time that he's going to need it when he wants to do some sawing, right? But when the time comes, what happens? He's not going to bother to clean all the clutter off of the saw table, right? And then clean 2 or 3 feet around the table so you can fit the piece of wood in there to cut it. He's just going to go out in the backyard with his portable saw. It runs off of batteries. Right? Saw the wood, he doesn't even have to clean up the sawdust. It's outside, and it's a lot faster and easier. So it ends up unused for years, taking up living space, taking up volume in the home. So what do you do with all these things? Boy, well, with the table saw, I suggest you just bring it out to the sidewalk and give it away. It's a beautiful piece of equipment, but it's kind of obsolete nowadays if you haven't used it. And so, I tell a story, but I happen to have my sister here in the audience for the very first time. They've never seen me give this program, and I've always used a story from them in my program. But I got her permission to use it again tonight. So what they did was, years ago, they had a washing machine, stopped working, so they called a repairman. He came down, said, well, it wasn't worth repairing it, may as well buy a new one. So they bought a new one from him, and he said, look, I'll take it away for free, or you can sell it for scrap metal if you want to. Well, my brother-in-law decided he wanted to sell it for scrap metal. So he had to call up his friend. They had a pickup truck and get his friend down, and they had to haul it out of the basement up the stairs and up onto the truck. They drove it down to the metal place. They got 28 cents. Now, metal, I'm sure, the value fluctuates, so it just depends on when when it occurs. But what I do with my scrap metal is I save it down my basement, and when I get enough to fill up a cardboard box, I'll just put it out at the side of the road and somebody will take it. And so what if somebody else gets benefit from it? It's out of your house, it's gone. And somebody does get benefit from it, and it gets reused, the metal. Well, anyways, so now with the dining room set, why not save one of the chairs and actually use it? Put it up in your dining room, living room, up in your bedroom, and then get rid of the rest of the set. You can always take a picture of these large things also. So you can take a picture of the table saw or the dining room set or the china or whatever. The picture will take up a lot less room than the objects. You know, about 3-4 years ago, I did that. I had gotten rid of all of my record albums, except for about 2 inches thick of them, and my Beatle albums. So I put them down on the floor, and I took pictures of them 4 at a time, you know, with my digital camera. Then I gathered them all together, and I brought them down to Salvation Army and gave them away. Oh, that was so hard. It really was. But what got me over the hump was the fact that I had pictures of these if I wanted to see them. Now, to be quite honest with you, that was 3-4 years ago. I've only seen those pictures once. And that was by mistake. I happened to be going through the computer looking for other pictures, and I came across my Beatle album, so I enjoyed it. But the idea is that you know that you can go back and look at the pictures if you want to. So, now with the China set, why not take 1 or 2 of the place settings, put them up in your kitchen cabinet, and actually use them, enjoy them. When my mother passed, I took a couple of her dessert dishes, and I eat my cereal out of them every once in a while. And every once in a while, I'll drink my coffee out of a Davy Crockett mug. And it just brings back nice memories of when I lived at home and my mother took care of me. It was kind of nice. So you could actually try to use these things also. Well, now, I'm going to try to squeeze something else in here. Here's another big reason why we have so many things. It just needs a little repair. How many of you save things because it needs a little repair? Sure, and we do that because when we grew up, you could repair things. Today, it's next to impossible, isn't it? To repair anything. Look, here's a scenario that's probably happened to a lot of you. My wife and I, we've got the coffee maker, coffee machine, you know, on the counter in the kitchen, and it's got a timer on it, and my wife is good enough to set it up every night, so in the morning it goes off, so when we get up, the coffee's already made. We don't have to wait for it. Well, what happens if the timer breaks? It's no good, right? So you're going to have to get it repaired. Well, that's going to cost $30 or $40. So you may as well just go out and buy a new one, right? So we go out and we buy a new coffee maker, we put it on the counter. What do we do with the old coffee maker? We save it, don't we? Sure, because we don't know if we're going to like this new coffee maker, right? What if it stops working in a couple of weeks? And it's always good to have a spare, right? Yeah. So now, what does the coffee maker come in? A box, and what do we do with the box? We save the box again because we don't know if we're going to have to, return it or whatever. Now we have 3 times the volume that we had before we started, don't we? So now, what do? I'll give you some suggestion. It might work for you, it might not work for you, but why not gather together all the boxes you have in your house. You probably have them in different areas, maybe even out in the shed. Get them all together, and then get a designated area in your home. It might be on a table down in the basement, or in a corner in the basement, or back room, or something. Put all the boxes there, go through them, get rid of the ones you don't want. Now, the next time you buy something that comes in a box that you want to save, take the box down to the designated area. And when you get there, you're automatically going to see the other boxes. And you can quickly go through, that's a year old, I can get rid of that one. So you'll be automatically sorting through them every time you bring one down. Now, you could do the same thing with things that need repair. If you like to repair things, or you want to pay to have somebody repair something, why not put the things that need repair right beside of those boxes in a designated area? And then give yourself a goal. You'll get it repaired in 3 months, 6 months, a year. You'll get it repaired. Now, if you don't get it repaired by your own goal, maybe it's time to let it go. And believe me, I know how difficult it is to let something go when you know all it is the on-off switch. That's all it is. And if you just had your old soldering iron, you could fix it. But I don't have it anymore. I got rid of it. So anyways, it's hard, but you could do that. Okay, here's another reason why we have so many things. Decision making. The older we get, the more difficult it is to make decisions. Now that's the truth, isn't it? Now, it isn't necessarily a negative. If you think about it, when we were young, we made quick decisions, just like the young people do today. We did also, but the older you get, the wiser you get. And it doesn't take too long in your life before you start realizing all it takes is one poor decision, and that can affect you negatively for the rest of your life. And so when you come to these hard decisions, you start slowing down because you want to come up with a positive decision that's going to affect you positively for the rest of your life. Now, I wanted to mention something that just slipped my mind. That doesn't matter. Okay, so, what?
It'll come back.
Yes, it will. Next week, maybe. Does that happen to you people too? Okay, so, well, I think also another problem is that we're living in a time when we're confronted with more complex decisions than our parents had to make. I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that when I was growing up, my parents had their choice between Blue Cross Blue Shield and one other medical program. But today, we've got dozens of them, don't we? And we have to judge one against the other. Like you're, let's see, fully insured for 6 months. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to look for that. You have to, oh boy, you have to have a lawyer look it over to really, so it's hard. Okay, the reason why I bring up decision making for downsizing is because when you go to downsize, it's going to take a lot of decision making. And because we're older, it's a little bit more difficult for us to make these decisions. And it's going to slow us down. All right, so you walk around your house and you see some extra things, right? And I'm just going to turn this down just a little bit because I think it's a little loud. There we go. Okay, so you see a few extra things and, well, how do you know if it's clutter, right? Well, my favorite definition is, if you can't find what you want, you've got clutter. But a more formal definition is, if you can't use an item or a space for which it was intended, you have clutter. So if you have a chair and it's full of things and you can't sit on the chair, you have a cluttered chair. Right? Or if you have a guest room and the bed's all filled up with stuff, then you've got a cluttered guest room. Or if you have a dining room table that's full of books and papers and you can't eat off your dining room table, like mine is around tax time, then you have a cluttered dining room table. All right, so you look around the house and, gee, there are a lot of extra things. I really never noticed it before. A lot of, and well, I guess some of it could be considered to be clutter, I guess. Well, so what? Right? Who cares? Who cares? It's been gathering for years. Doesn't seem to have bothered us yet. Why should we bother to go to all the trouble and the time and the effort and maybe the money and the heartache and the decisions Why should we go to all that trouble to downsize? Well, I think there are many reasons. One is safety, but I personally think that one of the most important reasons why we should start to try to get rid of these extra things that we have in our home is because you'll end up feeling better about your home. And if you feel better about your home, you'll feel better about yourself. You know, having a lot of extra things around can cause a lot of anxiety and guilt and stress, embarrassment. It'll drag you down and it drains you of your energy. Now I know a lot of you are thinking inside your head, not me, right? But think about this, think about how often do you get up on Saturday morning and you say to yourself, oh, I've got to get organized today. I've got to get organized, right? Yeah. Or you're out and about and you meet a friend. So you get talking with your friend and they find out where you live. And they say, oh, I know where your house is. I go by your house all the time. Next time I drive by, I'll stop in and visit. And you say, no, come to me first. Don't just stop in. And for the next 2 weeks you live in fear that your friend is going to come and visit you. Because they might see some of your extra things, right? Yeah. Here's another scenario. You've got the Girl Scouts coming to sell cookies, right, at the door. Or a politician, he's got all of his information to show you. What do? Do you open the door and invite them in? Or do you open the door and talk to them outside? Now I know there's a lot of safety reasons not to invite strangers in the home, but still, we have that tendency, don't we? All right, so hopefully I've got some of you with me that you decided that you want to get rid of some extra things. How do we even go about it? Well, I've read a lot of these books, you know, and the authors, a lot of them will say, well, just schedule a time, 15 minutes a day, an hour a week, Saturday morning, and stick to it. Now, for a lot of you, that will work, so try it. Try to schedule a time to start downsizing. Now, it didn't work for me, particularly before I retired. What I do is I'd write down a list of everything I had to do, and I'd always put downsizing down at the bottom along with exercising. And I never quite got down the bottom of my list. So what I found was that I worked better in spurts. Might be for a few hours at a time, a few days at a time. My wife and I, we worked for 3 months one time. And so spurts. But now I know the 800-pound gorilla in the room is, yeah, but what if I don't never get these spurts, right? What if I never get the inspiration? Or I always get the inspiration, but I never act on it. I mean, how can I do it in spurts if I can't get started? And that's a real problem. I mean, it happens to me too. It's a real difficult thing. I'm not claiming to have an answer for you, but I can give you suggestions that might or might not help you. Hopefully it'll help you. You're all old enough to know yourselves pretty well right now, so you know whether you work better in the morning, in the afternoon, evening, or late at night. So why not take the time of day when you work the best and start during that time of day? Now, if caffeine gives you a jolt or helps you, coffee, why not take a couple of cups of coffee before you get started or while you're working? That might help you. With me personally, the coffee doesn't help me anymore. When I was younger, it did. It doesn't any longer. But it might for some of you. You can play music that you love, music you love, so you're enjoying the music while you're trying to downsize. And for some of you, it's going to be fast music because that's going to help you get going. Some of you will need slow music because you're going to feel a lot of anxiety going through things, and the slow music will help to calm the anxiety. So it's kind of up to you. You have to decide. One woman came to one of my programs and told us how she gets audiobooks from the library. And she plays the audiobooks and so while she's downsizing. Now she wants to know what's going to happen at the end of the story. So she'll keep downsizing until the story's over with. So that's her method of stretching it out. Now I just came up in New Hampshire last week. I came across a woman who told me about the fly lady. How many of you have ever heard of the fly lady? Yeah, okay, great. I still haven't looked it up on the computer. I think it's flylady.com. Yeah. Okay, all right. So those of you, I haven't seen this, so I can't recommend it or anything, but try it anyways. Who knows? Okay, so this woman told me that the fly lady suggests that everybody has 15 minutes. Everybody. You can find 15 minutes in a day. Everybody does. And her point was that if you try to downsize for the 15 minutes, the main thing is getting started. So if you think you're only going to do it for 15 minutes, it might be easier to get started. Rather than, sometimes I'll think, oh gee, I have the whole day ahead of me. You know, it's nice and sunny out. What a great day to downsize, you know, but gee, I don't want to spend 8 hours downsizing. And so then you start thinking of excuses, right? Well, maybe I ought to go down to the hardware store and get some things I need first. Then I'll start downsizing, because I have 8 hours, right? And you never quite get there. So anyways, the idea was 15 minutes and you get started. And, one other thing I wanted to mention. I know with myself, if I eat donuts, like I love jelly donuts. So if I eat a jelly donut, I get lazier than heck. I get awful lazy if I eat something like donuts. So if you know that that happens to you, stay away from the foods that are going to make you lazy before you try and tackle something like this. I know it sounds silly, but it might work for you. One of these ideas might. Okay, so now, where do you start? Where do you even start? Well, a lot of these authors, they'll say, well, just start in any room, corner of a room, a closet, a kitchen cabinet, or a kitchen drawer. Well, I'll tell you now, if you start with a kitchen drawer, don't start with a hell drawer. You know, the miscellaneous one that's full of all these different things. You didn't know where to put them to begin with, right? So you may as well leave that for last. Leave that for last. Now, again, I never quite got to that. When I started downsizing, without even thinking about it, somehow I started downsizing by categories. And one of the very first things that I went through were all my audio tapes. And so what I did was, I got them all together. The audio tapes I wanted, I put back into the trays. The ones I didn't want, I took all of the commercial tapes down to Salvation Army, and then all the others I just got rid of. Now I want to mention, when you throw things out, I'm automatically talking about recycling as often as you can and all that. But anyway, okay, so I got rid of it. So very few decisions. Do I want it or not? If I want it, I put it back. If I don't want it, I either bring it up to Salvation Army or get rid of it. That's it. Very few decisions. But if you try to clean out a closet, not only will you have the clothes in there, but you might have medical papers, you might have financial papers, grandchildren's toys, you might have sports equipment. I mean, there's all kinds of things in our closets, right? So now what we've done is we've multiplied the number of decisions that we have to make. Because not only do we have to decide, am I going to keep it or not keep it, and if I don't keep it, what am I going to do with it? But now we have to worry about what we're going to do with the things we're going to keep. Because we're not going to put all that stuff back in the closet. The closet is for our clothes, right? So you're going to have to find a place for the games, and a place for the sports equipment, and a place for the papers, and so on. And it's added to all the decisions you have to make, and it's made it harder. So I think it's easy to do things in categories. So here's some examples. When you go home tonight, how many of you have a sock drawer? All right, so those of you that have a sock drawer, pull it out of the bureau, dump it on your bed, put the drawer back in your bureau, go through all your socks and get all the pairs and put the pairs back into the drawer. All those socks that don't have a match, throw them away. Get rid of them. And you've got one category done. Now, I guarantee you tomorrow morning you'll find a sock that would have matched it. But throw them away anyway. Throw them away anyway. So here.
That would leave us with no socks.
So clothes that hang up on hangers. Take a hanger and mark it somehow. Put it over to the right. Give yourself some kind of a goal, 3 months, or maybe it might be your winter clothes, summer clothes, whatever your goal is, 3 weeks. But put it over here, and as you use your clothes, put them from the left to the right. At the end of the time that your goal is, it might be all your winter clothes or whatever, all the clothes that are on the left-hand side are clothes that you have not used. And so you can go through them and decide which ones to get rid of. Now I'll tell you, when you start going through categories, go for the bigger things first. Don't start with your photographs. I'll tell you, boy, if you start with your photographs, you'll spend 2 or 3 heart-wrenching hours, and you'll have very little volume for all your effort, and you're going to get discouraged. But if you go through your books, you might end up with a box of books, maybe 2, maybe 3, and you're going to feel more encouraged because you're getting rid of more volume and getting yourself more living space. All right, so books, of course, you can bring to the library, but let's see. So now, furniture. If your children have left and you've got a guest room and the chances are that no one's ever going to be sleeping in your guest room, why not get rid of the bed? It's taking up a lot of room in that room. You could change the room into an office or a craft room and actually live in there and use it, rather than storing things in there. Bureaus, lamps, anything that you're not using, you can start to try to get rid of. Here's a category that nobody thinks of. How many of you have more than 2 cameras? Yeah, now think about this. Unless you're a collector, why do we need more than 2 cameras? If you think about it, so you may as well get rid of your 3rd or 4th camera. And it isn't much, but it's a category. And how about towels and face cloths? If your children have moved out, I bet you've got your closet stuffed with towels and face cloths that you don't use much. And boy, the first ones I get rid of are those doggone towels that don't dry. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, the ones that they're making today, they don't even dry. You may as well get rid of it. It looks like a towel, but that's all. Or the face cloths. Gee, you put the face cloth under the faucet and the water just bounces off of it. How many of you know what I'm talking about there? Yeah, so you may as well just get rid of those. Because what the heck, why waste 1-2 minutes of our daily time trying to get the water to go into our face cloth? If you think about it, it's worth it to pay more money for a nice face cloth. But anyways, that's a category. And we'll talk about where you can bring things like that later on. How about decorations? That's a big, big category. Now, when it comes time for 4th of July, take out all your decorations, put them up, and all the decorations that you have not put up, they're still in the boxes, go through them and get rid of half of them. There must be a reason why you didn't put them up. Maybe you don't have enough room. Maybe these are your favorites and these aren't. Maybe these are your newest ones, these aren't. Or whatever. But anyways, go through the ones you haven't used and get rid of half of them. You don't have to get rid of everything, just half of them. And if you do that for every single holiday at the end of a year, you will have gotten rid of a lot of volume that's taking up your living space in the house. And all your electronics, jeepers, you know, I do a program on marketing. If you think about it, we've thought in terms of this HD stuff as being wonderful, right? Nice, sharp television. But think about this. I don't know how many TVs are in each house, but with 300 million people in America, probably we have at least 150 million televisions, at least. And all of those are getting thrown out because we bought HD TVs. And they're all perfectly good. Think about that. It was marketing that did that to us. But at any rate, I bet a lot of you have those old TVs down in your basement. It's good, it'll work, but it's not HD. I want the little skinny HD one, you know, and all that. So, but you can't get rid of it because it works, it's good. So what do you do with it? Well, Best Buy will take a lot of your electronic things, whether it's TVs, computers, cameras, printers, and they'll accept them back, and you don't have to pay them when you bring them back. They don't take projection TVs, and you might want to call them first before you bring anything down there, because they might not accept everything. Places like Staples, they'll take back anything that they sell. So if they sell HP printers, and you have an HP printer and you want to get rid of it, they'll accept it back. So that's one way to get rid of your electronics, and they recycle them and everything in a fairly environmentally good way. Okay, and then there's hazardous waste. You know, in my town, we have to drive it down to the DPW about every 6 months. So I've got just a tiny little box type of a shed in my yard that I put the fluorescent bulbs in and all the things that hazardous waste. And I just put them into my van, drive down there on the day that we're supposed to be bringing stuff down. And these guys, they'll yell at me, you know, you're supposed to bring that down here, that's 6 months from now. I go, okay, fine. Take what you take today. And I bring them back, and I put them back in the box. 6 months later, I just empty it out, put it into my van, drive down, get yelled at again, and bring back the stuff that they don't accept. And you don't have to think about it. So I'm sure you can do that in town here too. And nowadays, I guess medications aren't a problem. You can bring them to your police station. I think all police stations in Massachusetts, they have a drop box right in the front room of the police station where you can drop your medicines and get rid of them. So those are categories. All right, so you're going through things, deciding what to get rid of. How do you get rid of everything? Right? Well, here's my favorite way to get rid of things. Lend it to a friend. Just think about it. How often have you lent something to a friend and you never got it back, right? Because I'm only kidding. You know, my favorite way used to be selling things. It used to be selling, but no longer. It's really donating. I think that's the best way to get rid of things. I'll tell you why. It's quick, it's easy. Once you've decided what you want to get rid of, all you have to do is put it into your car, drive it down to wherever you're going to be donating it, usually, and go to the back door. Usually they have somebody in there that'll come out and help you carry your things inside, and it's over with. You don't have to worry about it after that. Now, that agency gets benefit from your things. People get to buy your things for sharp money. And all your things get reused. What better situation? It's a win-win-win situation. Now, most of you can't take it off on your taxes. You have to, if you take a standard deduction, you won't be able to. But if you itemize your taxes, then you can take whatever you donate off on your taxes. I can't, but my daughter can. So I write my daughter's name on there with her address, and I give them the slips to her, and so she saves a little bit of money on her taxes, makes me feel real good. Now, I'll give you a warning. When you're at the back door and you get your car all emptied out, don't drive around to the front door. I know a lady who did. Excuse me. She told a group of us how she went around, she went in, she saw this pocketbook. It just kind of cried out to her. She didn't know why, but the pocketbook she couldn't let it go. So she bought the pocketbook and she brought it home. About 2 or 3 days later, she realized, why why she liked that pocketbook so much. It was her pocketbook. That she donated earlier that year. All right, so donating, that's my favorite way to get rid of things. Now here's a little harder way to get rid of things, sell things. Now, you know, we all think, well, we paid good money for something, we should get good money for it. But you have to think from the point of view of a buyer. You know, you're not going to pay $60 for something that's used that costs $100 new. You may as well just pay the $100 and get it new, right? It isn't until it gets down to like $40, $30 that it starts becoming attractive. And so I'll give you just a few examples of things I sold and how it didn't work out for me. And by the way, you can have a yard sale. That's a great way to get rid of things. But usually your first yard sale, that's where you'll make the most and get rid of the most things. But after that, you don't make as much. And I'll give you a warning now. One way to get lots of people to stop is to invite your friends and neighbors and relatives over with their things, you know, and then people will stop. But I guarantee you, if you do that, they're going to leave and leave their stuff at your place, and you have to end up getting rid of it. Yeah, that happens all the time. So you have to think about that. There's all kinds of ways of selling things. You know, I joined eBay. How many of you know what I'm talking about, eBay? It's like an auction on the computer. You know, I was getting close to retirement, so I started buying things at yard sales that I was going to sell on the computer for eBay. Well, I joined eBay. I ended up selling one item for 25 cents. And I bought over 90 items. So eBay didn't work for me. But you can try Craigslist. You know, I have a son-in-law who sells things on eBay, does well. My daughter sells things on Craigslist. So if you're into that, great. But I'll tell you, I had a pizza guitar, the world's only pizza guitar. It was an electric guitar. Now, an electric guitar ought to be worth $25, $50 easily, right? Secondhand. Well, I brought it to a magic auction where the people there, they're all magicians, they were entertainers. I got $10 for the world's only rabbit guitar. I mean, not rabbit, but I had a rabbit guitar too. I got $25 for that one. But for the world's only pizza guitar. I guess the thing was that anyone who wanted an electric guitar didn't want it to look like a pizza. I guess. So, I mean, I can give you example after example after example where you're just not going to make much. So I'll give you one with a lot of times you get these old things and you think they're worth something. You can bring it to an antique dealer or something. I had a Life magazine. Now, I figured it was worth about $15. Now, I brought it to my audience and threw it away in front of the audience. I'll talk about throwing away in a minute. But anyways, the thing is, the Life magazine, it's very little volume, isn't it? So how much time and effort are you going to spend trying to get rid of that one Life magazine? So I thought it was worth about $15. Well, if you bring it down to an antique dealer, he's probably only or she will only give you about $7.50, right, about half of what it's worth, because they have to make a living. Okay, $7.50 for a 35-cent magazine, that's worth it. But it's going to take an hour of your time to get to the antique dealer and home. You're probably going to spend $1 in gas. So now you've made $6.50 for an hour of your life. Now you can make more than that at McDonald's, right? So the alternative to that is to take the Life magazine and drop it in the trash. It is hard, believe me. Now, if you do that, it only takes 10 seconds. Now you've got 59 minutes, 50 seconds more to downsize. Now, I have to tell you, I threw it away in front of an audience. 2 weeks later, I got an email. One of the guys came up, took it out, and he sold it for $7. All right, so selling for me just doesn't work out. I don't like. Here's a harder way to get rid of things. give things away, right out at your sidewalk. Boy, the first thing was my daughter's bicycle, you know, she'd been gone out of the house for 15 years. I figured it was worth $80 or more, but I just put it out there, someone took it, ugh. But when I could pull my lawnmower out of the shed without the wheels getting stuck on things, I started thinking a little differently about it. One woman came up to me after a program, she said, you know, I put things out and they just stay there all day. Then it gets dark and everything disappears. And people will take anything they put out there. I think the longest anything stayed out there was 2 weeks. Usually it's 15 minutes to a few hours to a day or two and everything's gone. One time I put out computers, computer parts, everything like that, and I put out a sign that said free. All it was a piece of cardboard, you know, with a magic marker on it that says free. And so what happened was, yes, they did. So I'll go on to the next story. Have you seen me before? No? Okay. I have people that follow me around. So, in fact, I'll talk about that in a minute too. But anyways, okay, so you can give things away. But here's an even more difficult, oh, by the way, again, you give things away, it hurts at first, and somebody else is going to take your thing and sell it at their yard sale and all that. But so what? It's out of your life, and it gets reused, and somebody else gets benefit from it. So what? You know, you have more time of your own life to live that way. All right, so I have a sister-in-law. She lived in a 3-bedroom ranch with 4 children with no basement. And her house was pretty neat. And the reason was, she threw everything away. You know, if the kids outgrew toys, she threw them away. If they didn't play with the toys, she threw them away. I remember my mother-in-law gave her a set of lamps for Christmas. She threw them away 3 months later. That caused a family problem. But anyways, so she has a nice neat house because she can throw things away. For most of us, it's very, very difficult. So I'll just start off with something fairly easy. These are old envelopes. I send out brochures to libraries and things. I'm not using these envelopes anymore. And remember, if I was home, I'd be recycling, but I'm not home, so I'm going to throw them out. Whoops. I've got to get the bag, so I'm going to be getting in the bag and not outside. Okay, so there's that. Here's a bulb to a flashlight. It looks like it's brand new. It's stapled in there. I have no idea how old it is, what kind of flashlight it works for, but I'm not going to find out. I'm going to throw it away. I hate to do it, but I'm going to throw it away. 3-4 years ago, when we cleaned out our basement, I found out I had 150 screwdrivers. So I decided I'm going to get rid of my rusty screwdrivers. I'm going to get rid of the ones with little handles because I got carpal tunnel and I need bigger, screwdriver handles. So I'm going to throw that away, even though it's perfectly good and it's a little rusty. Here's some attachments for screwdrivers, brand new. I don't have the handle, so I'm going to throw them away. And that's something I put in with my metal. If you have a creative mind, you can think of over 100 different uses for a empty cottage cheese container, right? Yeah, but I'm going to throw it away. I'm not going to try to save it. Here's a card that came from the I'm pretty sure the 1940s. You can tell by the print and the color on the print and everything. Probably from the 1940s. It's just like a thank you card or whatever. But I had a whole set of these, and I'm sure they're worth something. But I'm not going to bother trying to find out. I'm just going to throw it away. Hate to do it. Here's some cards I just got recently in the mail. You know how they send you all these cards. Cute little things. I used one to send to a friend, and I'm going to throw the rest away. Okay, let's see here. Oh, here's a large outlet that would go to like an outdoor extension cord, for your lawnmower, if you had an electric lawnmower, something like that. Heavy duty, but I'm gonna throw it away because I'm not gonna be repairing anything like that anymore. Here's a brand new plug. Even has a price still on it. Brand new plug. But I'm not gonna be fixing any more of my lamps or anything, so I'm gonna throw it away. I hate to do it. Oh boy, that was $2. But I'm gonna get rid of it. Let's see what else we have. Allen wrench. I had hundreds of these all over the place, and I could never find the size I wanted. So I got them all together 3-4 years ago. What I did was I went down to the hardware store and I bought a brand new one where they're all hooked together, all in the same package. So if I ever need one, I'll always be able to find it. So I'm throwing all these extra ones away. So there it goes, and that would have gone into my metal. Let's see here. Oh, here's an old pencil. Must be worth something. I'm going to throw it out. And here's a socket to a socket wrench, but I think it's one of these Chinese ones. You put it on the bolt and you start turning and it just wrecks the metal on this. It doesn't do anything, so I'm going to throw it away. It looks like a socket, but it doesn't do anything. Here's a whole bunch of stickers. My grandson, I used to use these on school papers. He's too old now, so I'm going to throw it away. How about these? I bet all of you have these all over the house. Right? Your return addresses. Right? I bet you've got them all over the place, right? Yeah. And we saved them because, ooh, that's me. Yeah. I threw these away once and a woman came up and took them out of the trash. I told the next group and somebody said, well, did she send you a letter? Well, she was after the stickers, that's all. So here's a challenge. When you go home tonight, gather together all of your return addresses. They're going to be all over the house. There was a woman at Coolidge Corner just the other week. She did that and found $28 in with her return addresses, so you never know what you might find. Okay, by any rate, so gather them all together, save your favorite 300, and throw the rest away. So here you go. I'm going to throw them away. And here's a Christmas card from a good friend. I'm going to throw the Christmas card away because you can't save everything. And let's see. Oh boy, this is difficult. When I first started teaching school, I taught 3rd grade started in 1972. In 73, I had a girl in the classroom whose father worked at TI, Texas Instruments, and apparently they made switches that they used in the Gemini flight. Well, I don't know if this was, he gave me a switch, that would have gone into the Gemini. It wasn't actually in any of the Gemini capsules, but it was the type that they used. He gave it to me, and I had it in a manila envelope, and that was 45 years ago or something. It was a long time ago. I don't remember. So I don't remember if this is the one or not. So this is hard to get rid of because, jeepers, it might have been one that might have gone into one of the Gemini, capsules someday, and you can't get these toggle switches anymore, probably. I don't know, but I'm going to throw it away. Oh, it's hard, but I'm going to do it. And now here's something. I'm not going to open this one, but I'll tell you why in just a moment. I've been opening boxes like this that have not been opened since 1981. But this is my last one. So I'm not going to open it up, and I'll tell you the quick story. In 1981, my wife made hundreds of these little rabbits, and they say Boston 81 because she sold them at a magic convention in Boston in 1981. Well, we had a few hundred left over. So, all boxed up in a nice box like that. So I've been throwing them away in front of my audiences, but now I'm down to the last one or two. So I'm not going to throw them away, but I want to tell you a quick story. I was here in Middleborough at your senior center. Oh, this was probably 5 years ago now. And I threw this away, and a member of the audience came up and took it out of the trash. His name was Larry. So now, 3 months later, I was doing my program over at the Bridgewater Library. There was Larry in the audience. He came to get another bunny. And he got one, too. And then when I did another program at the senior center, I gave him a third. So he's got 3 of them now. But anyway, so this is the very last one, so I don't dare give that away. And I guess that's it for that. So you can throw things away. All right, and that's hard. It's not easy. But now here's the most difficult way to get rid of things. Pay somebody to take your stuff away. Can you imagine that? Pay somebody to take your stuff away. Now you can't blame the guy. He has to pay a second person. He has to buy his truck, pay for insurance. He even has to pay the junkyard to dump your stuff in the junkyard, doesn't he? So you can't blame him. He might charge you $600, $800, I don't know. But if you think about it, he or she will be making their money because they're looking for those gems, right? The gems that we have hidden amongst our stuff. So if you're afraid of getting robbed, just go down to your basement and go around and get anything that you think is a gem and put it upstairs. Now have the guy come down and have him give you an estimate. Might be $600, $800. But just think about this, how wonderful it would feel after one day to get your whole basement completely cleaned out. Then all you have to do is take your stuff off here and put it right back down in. All right, well, so this is your chance to join in here, because what I'm going to do, if I can find my card, I think they fell on the floor. I'm going to ask you to suggest places where to donate things, all right? So I'm going to suggest a few first and then see if you can help us out. If you have an animal shelter in town, do you? Yeah. Okay, the towels, face cloths, sheets, blankets, they'll accept them there. Eyeglasses, do you collect eyeglasses at the library? You do, okay, they do here, I guess, probably at your senior center? Yeah, and if you buy glasses, usually the company will have a place for you to throw your glasses. And it'll go to the Lions Club. Lions will get them to people here in America as well as other countries. If you have some old pictures or an old lamp or something that has something to do with Middleborough, you can donate it to the Historical Society. You get a great one in town here. Now, don't get upset if they don't accept what you try to give to them. See, the thing is, they're trying to save things that have to do with Middleborough. People that made things here, people who lived here, factories that made things, and that sort of thing. So if you have a lamp, it might be worth $800, but has nothing to do with Middleborough, they might say no thank you. But what you might suggest is, if you're willing to donate it, tell them, hey, you can have it anyways, and you have my permission to sell it, and use the money for your collection. And that way you can help them out that way. Okay, books. You can bring the books to the library. But probably most of you know they don't want textbooks, they don't want VCR tapes, they don't want encyclopedias. So, they'll tell you what they want or don't want. How about a church rummage sale? If you have one coming up at your church, you can donate to that. But I'll tell you now, if the rummage sale is in May or June of this year, great, save it up, bring it to the rummage sale. But if the rummage sale is not until November or December, don't start saving up now, because you're going to put them in different places, forget all about them, and when it comes time, you're not going to get it all to the rummage sale. So keep getting rid of things as you come along, but maybe in September, start saving up for your rummage sale. I got to tell one quick story here. It was about 6 months ago. I came across a woman in a senior center. She told me how she had a great big collection of owls. Now, I assume that they were ceramic and stuffed owls and that's it. But she had a big collection of owls. Well, she went through her. She knew she had much too many. She had to get rid of them. So she went through them and she gathered together all the owls that she was willing to get rid of. She brought them down to the rummage sale, and she gave them to the rummage sale. Well, her best friend attended the rummage sale. And she saw all these owls. And she knew her best friend loved owls. So she bought all the owls, she wrapped them up, and she gave them to her friend for her birthday. So now, here's a woman gave back her own owls, and she couldn't tell her friend that they were her owls, right? So now she's stuck with even the owls that she was willing to get rid of. And I'll tell you, that's my other program I do about marketing. We're kind of marketed to so that we kind of feel guilty if we don't give presents at certain times of the year. And I bet all of you receive things that you don't want and you can't use, and you have to hold on to it because you're afraid if you get rid of it, the person will find out that you got rid of it, and you'll hurt their feelings, right? Well, just think about this. If you have just 5 people, friends or relatives, just 5, that give you 2 things a year, one for your birthday, one for a holiday, at the end of 10 years, you have 100 items in your home that you don't want, you can't use, and you can't get rid of. Think about that. So, all right, well, so let's see. So also you can go to Salvation Army, Big Brother, Big Sister, Veterans, St. Vincent's. And by the way, on the yellow slip that you see out there, on the back, there's 3 phone numbers. You can call them up, have them come to your house. I think what they do is they'll take the things and ask for a donation too, from what I hear. But anyway, so next time that they call you or send a postcard, or you can just call them up using the phone numbers on the back here, and then find out when they're going to be coming. Let's say it's next Friday, okay? Even if you have nothing to give to them, tell them, oh yes, I've got some stuff for you. I'll give you a bag next Friday. So now you know that they're coming on Friday to pick up a bag of stuff, and you're going to feel forced into filling a bag of things and get them out there so they can collect them. And that might be something you can do too. All right, so now, who here would like to suggest places where you can donate things here in town or close to Middleborough? Yes, ma'am.
Middleborough 4-H on Labor Day.
Okay,
They do,
Middleborough
country
4-H on
store,
Labor Day, and where's it located?
in,
Thompson Street?
Middleborough, no.
Okay, Thompson Street. Okay, somebody else? Yes.
Old cell phones to the domestic violence place in Plymouth.
Okay, so you're talking about like cell phones and that sort of thing. So old phones, cell phones to the domestic violence place, where is it?
It's in Plymouth.
In Plymouth. Do you happen to know what street it's on or anything? Or? Okay,
I
so,
think it might be the main street, I'm not sure.
all right, it might be on the main street. You could always try looking these things up on the computer, or if you're in the 20th century, you might have a phone book somewhere. I don't know. Yes, back here.
It's a store that's called Restore. It's for Habitat for Humanity, and it's on 58 in Carver.
Okay, on Route 58 in Carver, there's a store that's called Restore, and it's for Habitat for Humanity, right? Okay, so they are always after not only building materials, I think, but they're also after furniture and that sort of thing. Okay, somebody else? Yes.
Savers, and when you bring all your stuff, they give you a 30% coupon so you can go into the store.
All right, so you can go to Savers. I didn't hear the rest. Somebody else? Anybody else? No? All right, well, look. On this slip, it's a sort of like a little outline of basically what I talked about today. And on the back, I have 3 challenges for you. So go home, read the challenges, and please email me at clutterbustingideas and tell me what happened. That's how I found out the woman found $28. She was excited, so she emailed me. But so please, email me and let me know whether you're successful or not. and what worked for you, because I always incorporate ideas into my program. Well, look, I want to thank you very much for coming tonight. I had a lot of fun with you. You're a great audience. Good night, everybody.